Alright, we get the white pieces. Let's go e4. Um, I'm hoping to see. I actually kind of feel like playing a Spanish. It's pretty common. Um, and I'm not normally a Spanish type player. So here there's an interesting idea. I found it's slightly dubious, but it's c3. The idea is to give away the e-pawn in castle and get a load of development. But it's also to play a very quick d4 and strike in the center. And personally, I don't study a lot of theory. So I don't like to try to have a memory competition with my opponent. And instead, I try to come up with these ideas that force my opponent into situations that are awkward, even if they are objectively fine for them. Forcing my opponent to think is a good thing. That's how I want to play chess. So castles here. I think taking on e4 is fine, by the way. Bishop c2, now defending. But now this pawn is fine. We basically got to play c3, and then we can play d4 without playing like d3, which is very common in a lot of Spanish and Italian ideas where you go like d3, then c3, then d4, or some variation of. But I haven't wasted time with d3. Wasted time being a strong sentence. So we can just play d4 in one go, and I've effectively saved a tempo. Is it the end of the world for them? No, absolutely not. But it's a line. So I don't really like the knight wherever it goes. If we push, there's knight b8, but they can rout, and I think that's fine for them. I would have to play for probably some f4 break to get this bishop back in the game. The bishop is terrible. I would look to trade it. There's also knight a5. Knight a5 does try to occupy c4, and I'm not necessarily sure I want to commit a move like b3. But I'm feeling like I want to play like Karpov and try to squeeze the life out of my opponent. So that's what we're gonna do. It's very much a gut instinct the way I play. So knight g4 could be a problem. Bishop g4 could be a problem. I'm a little bit weak on the king side. I know pushing pawns is awkward, but I simply don't want to allow anything to occupy g4. They break in the center. I could go c4, which is a sacrifice with the idea of simply just playing knight c3. I would love to play c takes d if they go for this. This is just a pawn sacrifice in order to get the knight active. I don't want to block the dark square bishop with knight d2. So this idea to intuitively sack a pawn in order to just play knight c3 makes a lot of sense to me. And you got to remember they did move their knight twice. They're down some tempos. And this pawn is also very weak, right? Like we can play a move like queen e2, and this pawn is awkward to defend. In fact, we're going to really illustrate how weak their position is with just a couple of moves here. Knight takes, of course. Let's immediately play queen e2. If knight d4, I'm very happy to take. And potentially outpost my knight on d5. And the idea of knight d4, ed4. I have a move here which is knight d5, which looks interesting. There's another idea kind of just hitting me in the face right now, and it is to go back to knight b8. I think I don't have to take either. I could move my queen, but I'm not really feeling like I want to waste the tempo with that. So with knight d4, they have knight takes, e takes, bishop takes, and bishop takes guards their c-pawn, and so I'm not liking this as much as I thought I would. There's also a fork on the board. I think I might just be lost. I think I just completely miscalculated this. Which means I have to get creative. Something I am too good at. So I could go e5. The problem is that d3 hits my queen. And no matter, well, I don't like anywhere I go. I'd probably have to play queen d2. And if they take the bishop, we can take the knight and drop one. I think queen d2 might be forced. The other issue is they can take the knight. Oh, sorry, not queen 2, e5. e5, d3, queen d2. They snag the bishop, we snag the knight, bishop takes, queen takes c2, and we get to play more chess. Is it the greatest position? No. Am I happy with my position? Also no. But we get to play more chess, maybe for another 5 moves. What did... I think allowing the C pawn to exist was a problem. Like sacking for the C pawn, allowing their pawn to sit on C4 was a problem. Ooh, okay, I didn't expect that intermezzo. I should have, but I didn't. I need to look for rapid development and crazy tactics at this point. Like, I'm down 2 pawns. These pawns are going to be the death of me unless I can generate some attacking plans. And therefore, I need to take away squares from their key pieces, right? Like, rook e8 is a little bit slow, but I don't want to allow it either. A move like queen d7, to stack up everything on the d file is something I want to avoid. My opponent's now just trying to trade everything, which is probably one of the best ideas, to be completely honest. I think I do want to take with the b pawn with the idea of going bishop a3, which probably looks a little bit awkward at first, but at the end of the day, I just need to get active. So after a move like bishop takes c3, which is a very heavy-handed move, right? Like my opponent is trading quickly without really understanding. I think trading's fine, but also without too much care for what my position is, right? Like I'm threatening to win back a pawn. Then I'm only down 1 pawn. There is the move bishop a3 right now, which basically traps rook. Okay, they go for a mate threat, which is cute, cuddly. I can defend this with a move like f3, and I think f3 is probably just forced. I don't really want to block with the queen and lose a pawn this way. There's no other way really to defend mate. There was queen g5, but queen g5 it seems incredibly superficial. Like h6 and my queen has to go to g3, and then they move like knight h5 buries the position. So they want the light square bishop. That's reasonable. I can either defend it, I can move it, or I can ignore it. I don't think ignoring this is a wise decision. I also don't think going bishop a3 to win the rook for 2 bishops is good either. There's the move bishop d1, but I may as well just resign. So we're going to play another move, which is rook b1. In the face of having no choices, you have to make tough ones. And in this case, trading bishops is active. It does sacrifice another pawn with it. They could be able to take on a2 after. I know that's a line. You're down 2 pawns. You can't care about losing a third one. Or a piece. You have to create complications and make your opponent make mistakes. And that's what we're doing. Look how good the rook is good here, right? Our queen is nicely centralized. Look, you're starting to see what I mean? And all of a sudden, we might be getting active. Are we winning? No. Far from the truth. No. But it's okay. It's a decent position, right? We're only down. This move runs aggressively into d2. Ooh. I was just realizing this. But the position at the end of the day is quite awkward for them, and we have decent piece development, right? Like there's a good rook on b7, a decent rook, a queen on e3. Our rook is, we're going to say active on f2 because it can very quickly get into the game. Keep in mind we're doing everything with tempo in order to activate our pieces. If I were my opponent here, I would be trying to trade pieces off as quickly as possible. This is a great move, pinning the bishop, but and hitting this pawn for what it's worth. But again, activity is king. I need to properly do everything. Notice the queen is guarding the bishop, and if the move d2 is played, we can play queen takes d2. I do believe. Queen d2, rook d8, queen z2. It's a bit dangerous, but I think we're okay. Okay is a very loose statement here because we're down 3 pawns. 2 pawns. And desperately fighting for chaos. Like, I need to get something chaotic on the board. I'm looking to try trapping their queen. There is a move that threatens to trap their queen now. It's rook a1. See, they're trying desperately to I mean, it's effectively trade. We're gonna play Queen C2 with the idea of going Rook A1, or sorry, Rook A2. Rook A2. Rook A2, there is Rook D1, trading rooks and getting their queen out of the trap. So that's an idea. Um, Lovely. Ooh, now there's no Rook D1 because they blocked it, right? But they do have a double attack on this pawn, so now queen takes is possible. I also would really, really like to move my bishop in virtually every line. Let's go ahead and play King H2. The idea is I'm going to H2, so the rook never gets to D2. It never gives checks, right? I'm playing this move, although normally going to the center is better. I'm doing this to deny any checks or tempo-winning moves by my opponent by going to F2. Okay, going after the pawn, which is fine, but now I have time to get my bishop out. They also could just be rotating in. Again, I need to create complications. Let's go bishop g5. I am trying to induce the move f6 because it opens up my rook. Again, I'm happy to sacrifice pawns in potential lines because I don't intend to go back. I'm very happy to sacrifice pawns in order to open up my opponent's king because objectively, I'm probably worse. I say probably because I don't have I don't have the engine eval, but I prefer black in this position. I do. I think black is probably about -2.5. Their position is perfectly fine, and I am again trying to fight to create problems for my opponent. If they play a move like f6, it helps our rook get active, and that's a very small thing. But there we have a very tricky move if they play f6, which could cause them to lose the game immediately. We're not going to go back. That would be ridiculous, frankly ridiculous. Good move by our opponent. Okay, we're gonna try to get some back rank ideas to happen. I will say on f6, I was planning to go bishop h6 to put a ton of pressure on the g pawn, and if they were to take, I would have had queen h7 mate using the rook that was on the 7th rank. Now, of course, there was defense to this, and I'm not sure what they would have played. I was still in the process of trying to find a move that I really liked for black by the time my opponent moved, but that's one way of trying to create threats. And in this case, I'm still creating threats. This knight, by the way, is the only thing stopping a fork. Something to keep in mind. There is back rank weakness written all over this position. There is queen h7 potentially in this position. We're creating a bunch of threats. And that is how you cause chaos for your opponent. Okay, immediately now going for this. I like that. We are going to take, are we? I don't want to take. I also don't want to move the bishop anywhere. I really would like to play a move like bishop c5. I am going to go back to d2 for now, as I don't really see a better square, and that really frustrates me. This is not a move I wanted to play. But again, there's X-ray vision on the queen. At the bare minimum, there's this. Rook b7. I try going for queen f5 ideas. Again, just bringing pieces near their king to cause chaos. Queen e4 could be an idea as well, trying to get access to the light squares, targeting their king. Pressure on the knight. Look at my opponent spend all of their time thinking that's good for us. Okay, they want to easily just trade here. It also looks like they might have some discovery ideas lined up. We are going to switch plans and go right back after the queen, right? Just right back after it, gaining tempos. I could have brought the other rook, but I didn't think that was good. I remember that idea about bishop h6. It's back. Now that we have a rook back on the 7th rank, bishop h6 is a move that could exist. In fact, we're going to play it. Because again, you can't take it, and we are threatening to take. We're threatening to take with the bishop. I'd probably take with a rook, but that's just because it has the additional mating threat of the mating idea. Oh, this position's very awkward for black. I'm not sure exactly what they should do. Um, okay, so now we have a draw in the bag. I can go back and repeat like this if I want. Um, the other idea is I could try taking in order to play queen takes h7. That does snag a pawn. And we are going to go for the win because I'm not going to draw this game. I refuse to draw this game, in fact. That's just how I am. We, of course, take on h7, pinning the pawn to defend our bishop. This is under massive pressure. We have a rook that is very accessible to the back ranks. Queen takes g7 is good, potentially. Good, potentially. After queen g7, king e6. Okay, we are very close to winning this. I assume e6, we have this idea to skewer, and then we almost have a back rank idea, but we're going to really try to make this work. Notice how I'm noticing potential like areas where the king could screw up, right? And they get blasted with this skewer. Okay, they're trying to repeat. The problem is I can take the rook for free. Now the material advantage is in our favor. And we can always, if they move the king, we can go queen g7 and, defend our bishop if need be. They choose to resign here. That is how you come back from an objectively losing position. You make threat after threat with only one thing on your mind, and that is to force them to react to your plans, regardless of the material count. Thank you, and I'll see you later.